Very nice to have Mikel here. She holds the record for the highest view on our channel so far.
When you're in the people business, and there's so many details on the back end that just isn't discussed, and there's wins and there's losses, and you got to talk about all of it and be transparent, because that's the only way you continue to grow.
You hire a doctor. Every doctor, a recent article I read, every doctor that an organization brings on, it costs them money. You're onboarding that doctor, you're spending money, you're investing money, you're training, you're doing 100%. All that. So that doctor that you're bringing in is costing you $50,000 to $100,000 when you bring them into your organization.
Sometimes when you start sharing your personal life, too much of your personal life, there's such a fine line. Like, Dr. Hughes is not like going out to dinner with team members. He'll take doctors out to dinner with like Jason, our HR guy, right? And we'll talk about business and we'll do that. Sometimes you got to keep your personal life separate and other things separate, so they don't feel like, we're friends, we're friendly, but we're friends. I just think it depends on what you're saying to your team, right?
Yeah, I think that's a much better approach than just, pulling the plug and saying, okay, you had this one incident.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the thing too, is like you go into these organizations and the leadership of that organization doesn't want to hold themselves accountable for what's really going on.
My biggest question for HR is, are you team or company? And the right answer is a mix, right? Like, you want the team to know that you support them, but you also are not going to allow team against the company.
Yes.
I love that I can provide value, or at least something for someone to take something, even if it's just a little bit, take something from it, and understand, like, we're very transparent. We just want to help as many people as we can and whatever it is, because sometimes dentistry can feel very lonely. People don't understand it because not everybody wants to tell you the good with the bad. They just want to tell you the good and make it seem like everything's going well, when I know damn well you've got some issues.
Hello everyone, welcome to the third session of the 3M special. Very nice to have Mikel here. She holds the record for the highest view on our channel so far. We have her back, she's becoming famous. Mikel, you don't need introductions anymore. Everyone knows you now. What does it feel like being famous, popularity?
So far it feels good. I feel like I'm beating Dr. Hughes. That's the main objective and the goal. Just because he's been on other podcasts doesn't mean they've gotten as many views as mine has.
Oh my God.
He's gonna hate that because he's gonna
Yeah. He's your boss.
Well, also, Mikel, and also, we're doing we're bringing Mikel for one of our webinars. I want to know, so Mikel, so Dentment as a team, we decided we're going to do a monthly webinars and we're going to bring people. So the very first one that we're doing is this month. And this one so far got 138 people registered for it.
Love that. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so exciting.
I'm getting notifications. People are like signing up. So we're super excited to see if we can break the record with you.
When is I know I'm on in May, right? May, June?
You're June. You're on June.
I'm June, yeah.
Yes.
So how exciting. I know, I'm looking forward to I'm going to break the record. That's my goal. I'm going to talk about some really good stuff.
Yes, yeah, that's the main thing.
That's
we gotta talk about some good stuff.
Love it.
Absolutely.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I said a quick question, and maybe it's something I shouldn't be asking in the middle of the podcast.
Can
but
you
are you
guys
also
hear me?
having a hard time seeing Mila?
Yeah, he's frozen right now.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. We can keep going. Just the two of us. We may
Yep,
do it
sorry.
this time.
Oh, there he is.
I don't know what's going on with my computer. My desktop is always connected to the best internet, but I don't know what's going on. But I was just telling Mikel, we want to see if Mikel in June can break our 138 record so far. I think we can do 500 with Mikel. No, Masoud?
I mean, if the podcast
You mean 500,000?
Dang.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Yeah,
I would love that.
I know. But no, it's so amazing, Mikel. Like, when I was thinking about it, before, like, the first time I brought you on the podcast, it's so amazing, like, when you take on feedback from people and then you actually see it work. It's so amazing to see it, because when I brought you on the first time, I was getting messages from, like, the other doctors saying, oh, man, it's so interesting that we are actually bringing someone that is actually involved on a day-to-day side of dentistry, and they were so fascinated by that. And that's why I was like, I gotta bring you back because like
Yeah.
people are liking that. They like the fact that because
Good.
like the doctors and stuff like right, we're like dentistry is dentistry. There's like minimum
Mm-hmm.
of stuff to talk about, but when it comes to like the operational side of things, that's really where the value comes in because you're directly involved, hands in. You're dealing with the crazy side of dentistry, which is I
Yeah,
think
there's
people
not a
love and
lot
enjoy.
of it. I mean,
Yeah,
there's not a lot of talk on it. It's a lot of work. I mean, when you're in the people business, and there's so many details on the back end that just isn't discussed. And there's wins and there's losses, and you got to talk about all of it and be transparent because that's the only way you continue to grow.
yeah, that's super important. And
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that I learned from I guess from my recent like positions, the one thing I learned from like the dentistry and the management, the leadership side of it, and I'm gonna prove that. Like I tell a lot of these organizations, I'm like, listen to what your doctors are saying, and don't
Mm-hmm.
if whenever you ignore the doctor is gonna find a way to leave, and they're gonna be like, man, I'm just not gonna deal with whatever is going on because
Yeah.
you value yourself and your mental health. You value who you are as a person. You value what you do as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So in and that's something I wanted to ask you because the last time we had the conversation about this, because you said if there's an issue, you're gonna trust, but you're still gonna verify it.
Mm-hmm.
How important it is for you as a leader to make sure that if the doctors are having issue in the practice, that you're addressing that right away rather than letting it sit and addressing it down the line. Because by that time, you may get to a point where there's no turning back from it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you address that when there's like the doctor says, "Hey, Mikel, I have an issue with this person. You trust, you verify, but then what is your action to make sure that that doctor feels like you heard of him, you value what he was saying, and then you address it so that way he is satisfied with whatever the solution he came up with."
I mean, the obvious answer is follow up,
Mm.
right? Once I've addressed the situation, then I follow up. And we've had this come up. We have a doctor in one of our locations who just did not really mesh well with his assistant. And I was like, okay, so you mean I get all the data that I need? The hard part is when a doctor doesn't want to work with somebody, you have to get on it like that. I can't really keep someone around that the doctor's not getting along with because that's our provider. Do I want to make sure that our doctor's being fair? Absolutely. So I am going to get all the data that I need because we have female doctors as well, and sometimes we tend to get in our feelings. But even sometimes the male doctors, sometimes are even more so in their feelings. And it you want it to be like, is this a consistent thing or is this just because maybe we're just having a bad day? Everybody deserves a little bit of grace because we all have bad days. Sometimes we have outside forces in our personal life that will affect, when we come into our professional life. But like when I say trust but verify, if this is something that is continuously going on and the doctor's reaching out to me on the weekly, it's most likely something that I'm gonna address firmly, and I'm gonna sit down with that team member, and at that point, I have to address that I got to bring the doctor in on it. We're not on the same page. We're not meshing well. Either you're being disrespectful or insubordinate or whatever that is, but I don't really wait. I have to bring them both together because this is my doctor and my assistant, or my doctor and my hygienist, whatever it is, whatever the issue is. And if when I bring them together when there's three, four of us in the room, and if it doesn't resolve it, then I have to allow that team member to go win somewhere else.
So you said something that is been kind of in my mind as a provider is that as an organization you go out of your way, you hire a
Mm-hmm.
doctor. Every doctor, I mean, a recent article I read, every doctor that an organization brings on, it costs them money. You're onboarding
Yeah,
that doctor, you're spending money, you're investing money, you're training, you're doing all
100%.
that. So that doctor that you're bringing in is costing you $50,000 to $100,000 when you bring them into your organization,
Mm-hmm.
and then you bring them in, and 7 months went by, you didn't listen to that doctor, and out of nowhere, you're losing a doctor that has all these potentials that can do all these good things
Yeah,
for you over a staff member.
correct.
So how do you guys make sure that your doctors, and regardless of the staffing issues that they have, right? Now, if a doctor is mean and rude, that's beside the point.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you guys make sure that you're protecting your doctors and letting your staff know that the doctor is a leader in the practice, and you guys have to make sure that you're kind of following his footstep on what he's doing and making
Mm-hmm.
sure that that respect between the doctor and the staff is protected.
I mean, that's where you have a practice manager comes into play because you want that practice manager to be front and center to make sure that that doctor is feeling supported. I mean, whether, and we have some new doctors that have come on, onboarded in our practices and they're still learning, or, they get their, one on one coaching with Dr. Hughes where they fly down to be with him in South Carolina, or he comes up here to coach them in real time and in training. And we always have a practice manager go when they're in South Carolina. The practice managers go so that they can hold the doctor accountable to the coaching and stuff too. And then at the same time, the practice manager is just, I mean, we have assessments that we have for each department. We have assessments for hygiene, for assistants, for front desk. And we're just making sure that from the time that doctor walks into the room, are they that rock star of the practice, right? Like, how are we introducing the doctor? How are we doing that? There's a ton of support that comes in before the doctor even walks in that room, right? It was like a most recent post that Dr. Hughes had was 160,000 dentists. What makes that one want to come to you? Your team has to see you as that rock star, not just, it's not always something that we can do. We can market you and do all that for you, but your team has to make you feel supportive that you are that guy or that girl, but then you got to be that guy or that girl, you
Yeah.
know? And I think it's if your team doesn't support you, you know right away which people those are. The practice manager knows right away what team member that is. But at the same time, the doctors kind of have to protect themselves too. We tend to see that doctors want to become friendly with team members because they feel like they've got that like we're in the same field and we're doing the same thing, and then they become friends outside of the office, and that's detrimental to that doctor assistant hygienist whatever relationship. There's a difference between being friendly and having a friendship, and understanding the difference, and kind of setting yourself apart. It's not an ego thing like I'm better than you, but when you are seen as that leader, like you said in the practice, you have to be that person. If people see you weaker or they can take advantage of you or do any of that, they will do that. So it's not necessarily just how can we protect that doctor, but it's got to be a mutual thing. They have to understand that, like, in order for us to better protect them, they got to do things too, and keep themselves out of the mess and the drama that sometimes some offices can have and the gossip. Set yourself apart so that I can come in and clean up, if that makes any sense.
Oh
It's
no,
the same thing.
absolutely. Yeah.
We have to play the same important pivotal role as they do.
No, absolutely. No, I
I think
I can tell you that in recent days, I kind of was having this conversation with another doctor too. I think that's the hardest thing as a dentist because for me, when I go to an office and I start working there, I try to be, man, I need to be like serious, focused. I need to just,
Mm-hmm.
go to the operating room, do my work, go in my office, stay focused. But then the staff is like, man, the doctor is too serious. But then as soon as you get a little friendly, you start laughing with them, you start joking
Mm-hmm.
around, then they start taking advantage of that. And that's
Yeah.
the part that becomes so challenging as a doctor
Yeah.
because you're like, all right, now I let my guard down a little bit, and then things backfires on you, and then now you have to go back and be in that shell and just say, man, I can't. And then now the balance is kind of thrown off.
Yeah.
And I
I mean, I
think,
think it depends on what you're joking about, what you're letting loose about. I mean, you can be kind and caring and fun and still hold people accountable. But we've found that I mean, y'all go to dental school. That's what you do. Dental. Everything is about what you're doing in that. So you're not learning how to be relational with team members and patients and all that. You're not learning, the financial side of the business side. You're learning how just to be a dentist. So it's a learning curve for the new doctors as well, including some of the doctors that maybe have some experience that never really been in a private practice setting where it's all about that patient experience and where you are over delivering and creating value. And and they need to feel like we support them, that us as business dental partners, we're going to continue to coach you and train you on that. But I've also have a person in the office that's going to be with you in the day to day, supporting you and continue working with you with that, making sure that the team is respecting you and seeing you as that person, because I can't be in the office all the time, so I have to put someone in there who can be.
so how do you see Dr. Hughes kind of finding the balance, or even yourself? How do you find the balance of I'm gonna be friendly with my staff, but I'm gonna make sure that they know that I am a leader at the end of it all. How do you
Yeah.
manage that?
But how friendly are you being? I mean, I think
I mean, I'm not saying like
there's
you lovey dovey, but
no,
like,
no, no. Sometimes when you start sharing your personal life, too much of your personal life, there's such a fine line. Like Dr. Hughes is not like going out to dinner with team members. He'll take doctors out to dinner with like Jason, our HR guy, right? And we'll talk about business and we'll do that. Sometimes you got to keep your personal life separate and other things separate so they don't feel like, we're friends, we're friendly, but we're friends. I mean, I just think it depends on what you're saying to your team, right? Like I'm not gonna go in and be like, oh my god, I had this like worst weekend. I got drunk, and I'm hungover, and like I'm not sharing that. Like I don't do that. Oh, sometimes maybe, but like I'm not sharing that with my team. I might share that with someone on a management team, but I mean I'm 47. I haven't done that in I don't know how long. I'm not coming in and sharing that side of my personal life with the team to where I'm not setting a professional tone. There's a difference. You can be professional friendly, and then you can go over the top and be like too like friendship friendly. Just depends on what you're sharing and what you're doing. You can make a joke, and like we have one doctor that makes dad jokes every morning huddle. And it's quite like the dumb. Literally, you roll your eyes like, "Why is that even a thing? Why are you saying that?" And it's funny, and you laugh, but like they're not taking that as in like, "Now I can take advantage of you." Because he's not coming in talking about, oh, my marriage is so rough and hard and like that's when people start taking advantage of you, when you start crossing the line of a professional friendly versus personal friendly. We
Wow.
have cautioned multiple doctors on that because we've had, and until something happens, the doctor all of a sudden gets, oh, light bulb. Now I know why you were telling me not to do that, Mikel, because look what happened. It can happen with your practice managers and other team members as well. I caution my practice managers on the same thing. It's not just a doctor thing. Any leader in the practice has to separate themselves from that personal friendship versus the professional friendship.
Mikel, there's this idea that I recently came up with. Actually, by recently, I mean right now, like a few minutes
As in,
ago.
like, just 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
That's
I
okay.
think when someone is a leader and then, their behavior, whether they are friendly or they're not, and how they really show up in front of the team, it's not just about who they are and how they behave, it's also about
Yes.
how the team is. Because once you make
Yeah.
someone your teammates and someone you're collaborating with, it's just like you're marrying them. So in one type of marriage, I could be a very good husband. I could be the loving husband, the best husband in the world. In the other one with a different woman, I could be the worst husband. You know what I mean? And I think it's the same thing with just building teams. So, sometimes people say that this person is not a good leader. But does he have a good team that he's not a good leader for? Or is it that the team is not that well and maybe he is a good leader? So, you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense, by the way? I just
It
came
could be
up with this.
either. It could be either way. It could be the doctor. It could be the team. It could be all of it. I mean, we've had some teams where we've completely upgraded, or you have one person that you've let, and we've learned the hard lesson. We've let one person make the entire group toxic because people feed off of each other. It's so hard to say, like, oh, how do you figure out a balance? There's never going to be a balance. I think that's always like a misconception people think. You can have harmony, but never really balance. Balance is 50-50. You're never going to get 50-50, not in a work environment. Someone's going to bring 80, someone's going to bring 20 one day, someone's going to bring this, someone's going to bring that. And it's up to the leader in that practice to try to bring everybody together like on the same page. I mean, balance is hard to attain. I think you have to be okay with like 80%, sometimes 90, but you're not always going to get 100% from people. Like I would love to replicate myself, and Dr. Hughes, but I mean, there's only one of me. But getting 80% of that and extracting 80% of that, and then the economy, the world we live in business, that's a win to us. If I can get 80% from people, then I'm going, and that's good for us. Doctors, team members, there's never going to be that perfect scenario where you got one office where everybody's happy all the time, 24/7, because it's people. You're just not. It's the main objective is to, let's at least find some kind of harmony every day to be able to work together. Because you have some team members who are fantastic, but just don't have that same. You're not everybody's going to be very extroverted. Some people are going to be introverted, and you still want that. You want the best assistant. You don't have to be, the best at everything, but you can be like this fantastic assistant, and you may not have like 100% relationship with doctor, but if you got mutual respect and it's 80% there, and no one is being detrimental to that person or push, bring them down or anything, that's harmony. To us, that's balance, because that's the harmony that you want.
So true.
100% perfection is not reality, but when you strive for perfection, you achieve excellence.
That's amazing. Master, by the way, Mikel just told us how old she is. 47, bro. Remember
I am.
that.
I'm 47.
You don't look 47, Mikel.
Thank you.
At all. Mikel, I thought you were like 27, 26.
Come on, Mila. No, she doesn't look
experience at
27
20.
either. No, be
I like
honest.
people,
She
you know?
looks 37. She looks 37,
Well,
like
thank
10
you.
years younger.
You
I'm
would
trying to
think
be
if you were
realistic and
Dr.
honest.
Hughes for 12 years, I would look like I'm 57. I mean,
I'm definitely going to edit that one out.
he'll leave it. He'll love it. He'll be like, yeah, I'm sure she does feel that way.
Hey, Dr. Brad Hughes, what are you doing to these people over there?
Yeah. No, the big thing is when you do what we do, you have to be able to have those tough conversations and be able to trust the person that, I mean, sometimes you vent, sometimes you say stuff you don't necessarily mean, but you build a trust to where like, look at what we're doing is so hard and it's not easy, because if it were, everyone would do it. And even people on the management team, C-suite team deserve a little bit of grace too.
Yeah, that's something you said. The grace part is like, I recently, just in my own experience, it's like, I always tell people, it's like, dentistry is not easy, right? Because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with the patient, you're dealing with your own self, you're dealing with, and I'm not even a practice owner and I'm saying this. It's like you're dealing with all of that. Then you go into a practice where you don't have assistants, you're running around by yourself, you're trying to figure that out. And then the moment you have it, one bad day, instead of leadership saying, okay, like, yeah, one bad day, let's have a grace. They're like, no, let's just unplug it from the wall. We're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that is such a wrong approach to have, to like not just say, hey, like, we're going to have this tough conversation, but you want to have that grace to where like, it's okay if you had one bad day. It's okay if you're frustrated. And then we're just going to listen and we're going to apply what we need to do to make sure that you're happy. I think that's kind of like what has it been. Like, we recently, like Masood wasn't happy yesterday with one of our developers. I got on the phone with him. I was like, hey, like, you got to do this, you got to do that. I'm not just going to be like, yeah, you're fired. You know what I mean? Like, you got to find that. You got to give them the opportunity to like show who they are rather than just saying, okay, we're done. You know what I mean? So I think that grace part is so important.
And if you set the tone from the beginning, you'll have less of those days. And then when those team members do have those days, they know who to go to for support. And sometimes they just want to vent. And they want the understanding that they just, hey, look, I got some personal stuff going on, or something happened here or whatever. Can I just vent to you real quick? Yeah. And then you want a solution? Nope. Great. I'm here to listen then. Understanding like they can feel that safe space, but know that once they have had that, then they got to go back and the expectation still continues.
Yeah, that's so amazing. I think that's a much better approach than just, pulling the plug and saying, okay, you had this one incident.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the thing too, is like you go into these organizations and the leadership of that organization doesn't want to hold themselves accountable for what's really going on, because you're going to them for so long. To them, they're like, he's just complaining. He just complains too much. But they don't understand, like, hey, man, I need the support to be able to do my work. If I don't have that support, it's not complaining. It's a fact of the business. When I don't have an assistant, when the office has inconsistency in it, what is it going to happen? You're a person, you're a human being, and then you have to go in and you're like sitting there by yourself. And one of my classmates called me and he said the same thing. He's like, man, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm like, you don't know what to do? I tell you what to do. You go to the management and you say, screw you, and you walk out. I'm honestly,
if you haven't had a resolve, if no solutions are happening, like that's
it.
That's ultimately what's going to happen.
Exactly. I'm like, and I tell my classmates all the time, I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, these people are in business because of you. Like, it's not because of anybody else. Like, they need you to run their business. Like, if you're not in that office, they have to shut the door. Assistants can't do dentistry. So if you're not happy, Just go in there and be like, hey, I've been talking to you guys for 6 months. I'm gone. Have a good day. Like, you know?
Yeah.
And you go work somewhere else. So it's just essentially that's what it is. And I think the fact that you guys are valuing that and addressing it and setting those, like those stuff that you said, having the grace, being able to listen and not judge that person, I think those are such an important thing. And that happens to the best of us, right? You
Yeah.
can't just go to somebody and just be like, we're done because you had one incident and we're just
Yeah.
going to move on. But
I
yeah, I
want to
love
touch
that.
on one thing that you said too is complaining versus concerns like are two different things, right? Sometimes even doctors will complain just and then it's gossip because you're not looking for a solution, you're not looking for anything to change. And sometimes you those doctors, we got to bring the ego down a little bit and understand that like yes, we need them, but you also don't want them to be the reason why you have to shut down either. So you got to protect the company and the business at the same time. Where I'm happy all day to go and support my doctors, but are we complaining or are we wanting solutions and you bringing me concerns that I can change, or are you just complaining and gossiping and then causing issues in the practice because you're stomping your foot because you're not getting what you want? When is it what you need?
Absolutely.
You know?
I agree. No, I agree. I think it's more of like from a perspective, like you said, it's like, what do you need in order for you to operate as a doctor, right? Like,
Yeah.
just like having an assistant, that's a necessity. Like, you can't do dentistry
Huge.
without an assistant, right?
Mhm.
So those are the things I'm talking about. Like when I hear like doctors
Yeah.
say, man, for months I've been saying, hey, like we have an inconsistency in the staff. We don't have, there's days we go without assistants. So then they turn around, they're like, yeah, we hear you, but what are you doing about it? Are you
Yeah.
hiring? Are you interviewing? What are you doing? So
Yeah.
these are the type of thing I'm talking about. That it gets to a point where you just say, okay, now it's time for me to step back, analyze my situation, and I gotta have to like separate myself from this organization because it's just not for me.
You don't feel appreciated then or heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
that's
that's
so
different.
important.
That's a whole yeah. I mean, there's that yeah, to not feel heard in a company that you work for is disheartening,
It
right?
is. Yeah, because essentially you're going in and giving them all you got, and then you turn around and they're not doing anything to change to help
Yeah.
you feel like you're supported in that sense. And I think that's the
Yeah.
part. When do you ever run into a situation where you feel like, again, same thing, that you listen to the doctor and you're like, well, we want to support you, but then you don't know how to support them. What way do you support them? Like, do you run into issues like that, and how would you like go about trying to really understand where that doctor is coming from in that person?
I can't say that we've come across a doctor that we couldn't support. I just think it depends on the situation. Sometimes doctors think they need something that they don't. And you have to go and explain to them the why. Like you don't need four assistants because you're not producing to get that, and you don't. I'm just not going to hire someone to get the trash and wipe counters off because that's not. They don't want to do. It just the biggest thing is actually sitting down and listening and talking to them. They just want to be heard. And if it's something that we can't do for them at the time, maybe it's a production thing or the practice just is not you're not there right now, or we got we already have either we have too many team members, margins, whatever. I mean, there's so many factors that go into when a doctor is wanting something that they maybe can't have yet, but then you give them solutions as here's what we can do in the meantime, and then we're going to work towards you getting that, and here's how we can do that. Like we got to give them the roadmap to show them, yeah, well, we can get that for you, and here's how we do it. Just depends on what it is. Sometimes they want a high ticket item, and then other times they just want another assistant, or sometimes like I just need a new handpiece. Well, that's easy. It depends on what it is. And then, like I said before, there are times where there are some team members that are just not working out, and you have to be careful going into it. And then sometimes you do have to, like I said, upgrade team members, but every doctor is so different on what they want. And then I have some doctors where I'm like, I mean, you probably could have told me a long time ago that you needed that, and I would have gotten that for you. Why are you sitting on that? Why didn't you just order it? I don't want to be a bother. And you have those people, and you just want to make sure they have exactly what they want and need, because not everybody's going to be vocal about it either. That's where I and us as a team rely so much on practice managers that are in those offices every day. What do you guys need? Where are you at? What can I do to help you?
So important. So important.
Mm.
Masood, I'm gonna give you the floor to ask one more question. Mikel got about 5 minutes.
Dude,
Go
you
ahead.
stole the whole show from me, but that's all right.
I think one time you stole the whole show, but that's fine.
That's okay. Cool. Quick question that I kind of told you that I'm kind of new to hiring people and making
Mm-hmm.
teams, and like, it's my very first experience, and it's not as easy as I thought it would be, of course.
Mm-mm.
Who's the ideal teammate? Like at first when I went into the job, I wanted people who are like myself, who are a little bit bossy, like, they want to take charge of the thing once you give it to them and they want to make sure they own it. And, you just relied on them, you don't check back on them and be like, what happened? Did you do it? What's going on? Give me the progress. At first I was looking for people like that. And then I hired someone like that and it was a nightmare. Like it was two of me working together. And I was like, no, I can't do this. Please go work for yourself. You can't work with anyone. Then I started hiring other kind of people that, they're very much down to earth. They're like, whatever you tell them, they're like, yes, sure, I'll do it. No problem. Of course. They're just like yes boys.
The yes people.
Yes people. And then it turned out good, but there are some areas that, sometimes I make mistakes too. And I want my teammates to come back to me and be like, you made a mistake here, so you might as well correct it. So what's really the balance? Does it make sense? Like I'm sure you've seen a lot of people like that go from both sides.
I mean, you do have to have a mix and a combination. It's funny, we talk about this a lot because we do, like, everybody on the management team has a Colby. And a Colby's just your mode of decisions and the way you function, right? There's no right or wrong to it. It's just who you are as a person. How do you make decisions? I'm a high fact finder. I need a lot of information, but I have high follow through. Where Dr. Hughes doesn't need a lot of information. He's a quick start, so he just wants, like, let's just go. And then I'm like, okay, let's pause because I need to know more information before I can go execute this. And sometimes we drive each other nuts, but we have this understanding where if he wants me to do something, he'll be like, okay, Mikel needs a little bit of information for me to go. But he'll be like, this, and this, and that. I'm like, okay, cool, I got it. And then sometimes I can go quick start too, depending on what it is. So I think, when you're looking for like that, C-suite team member, depends on who you're looking for. The important questions to ask are you someone who needs a lot of information? Or are you someone who's a bottom line type of person? Because that'll kind of get you to asking more questions. Or if you need a lot of information and I need you to do so and so and so, how long would it take you to get that done? Like how much information you need in order to do that? So it's important to ask those questions in interviews, especially if you're hiring that one key team member, someone on the seat, like with Jason when I interviewed him. My biggest question for HR is, are you team or company? And the right answer is a mix, right? Like you want the team to know that you support them, but you also are not going to allow team against the company, right? So you got to ask those luring questions to get the answer that you need, and then you can keep going. And that's what I mean. If you got someone who's like team, you're not going to probably hire that person because they're never going to be about the company. If you got someone who's like, I need to do data and research, I need 6 pages before I can get this done, and you're someone who's like, I actually need someone to be able to move a little bit faster, you're probably not going to hire someone who just needs all that data. So it's asking the right questions. Obviously hiring someone who's coachable. You can hire nice people all you want all day, but if they don't have the drive, you're not going to really get anywhere. They can just be a nice person, but they're going to do the bare minimum. Being nice isn't enough. There's got to be drive. I just actually recently had an interview with a girl that I was hiring for a second front desk for a new acquisition that we just acquired, and there was one girl up front for the longest time. I love her to death, the nicest lady, but with what we need to start implementing, I can't just put that on her. So when I interviewed this new gal, I interviewed her to come into the company where this team we acquired. So there's a huge difference when you acquire a company where you're not really interviewing the team to get them, where you're interviewing people to come in to work for you. And I asked her key questions. Give me a time in your life where you were coachable, and, then they'll give you like, well, and a lot of it is they've had like stuff when they were younger, whether they were in cheer or anytime that you could be coached, or like, hey, any tasks you've taken on recently, anything like that. And then when the more I kept getting out of her, then I could say, these are things that I need. Here are my expectations. I have things I need to implement in this office, and I want to know, are you someone who's willing to take on these projects? Are you a quick learner? What are things you can learn fast? Give me some, data on that, right? Give me some examples of when you had to learn something quick or whatever. So depends on the position I'm hiring for, depends on the questions that I'm going to ask. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I think it's more of a thing that you have to learn by experience.
Yeah, 100% experience for sure. And you get some people in where you don't expect leadership from them, and they take it and run with it, and they surprise you. Sometimes it's just about giving that team member the opportunity to go, to win.
That's
They don't
awesome.
always get that when they work for, companies. They're not always getting that opportunity. People just, like, this is the only thing I want you to do. There's no opportunity to grow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
no, like for myself, I tried not to be bossy to any of the people that I work with. I always tell them that, we're all teammates. Yeah, come on, you're the boss here. He's not like me though. He wants to be very bossy. He exactly commands you. I want you to put this here, and if you don't put it, you're fired, massive.
The key is, what is your avatar for that position you are hiring for? What kind of person do you need? What does that avatar look like? Sit down and you can put in through ChatGPT. I'm trying to hire a dental assistant, or I'm trying to hire this and that. What does that look like? What should I be looking for?
So important.
Yeah, that's actually very good because me and Mila just had that experience. Like with one of the team members, at first, when we started hiring these people, this is about Densmith. When we started hiring these people, I was just kind of like in the background, and I was just trying to manage them. I wasn't so much out the front, and then I was having some conversations with them, giving them some commands, not commands really, but like directions.
Yeah.
This is the direction we want to go.
Yeah.
And they weren't taking it serious. And every time that I wanted something, I had to go back to Mila. Mila, please tell them to do this. Yesterday,
Yeah.
Mila just sent a message to them, and he was like, "Yeah, Master is the part CEO, and whatever he says, please follow him." And then suddenly the page flipped, it completely turned, and they started listening. So I think it's very important how they see you in the team.
Oh yeah.
Right?
It's like you. Yeah, absolutely. For a large, I don't want to say a lot. We're a good sized company now, being 9 practices. And when you say it's how they see you, where Dr. Hughes is not in the practices all the time, but he's like the rock star of the company, right? Like, oh my God, Dr. Hughes, Dr. Hughes is coming in. It's how they view him, because through our eyes, right? So sometimes you just throw the name around Dr. Hughes, and they're like, Dr. Hughes is coming in. They're not scared, but it's just like, that's the boss. That guy, It's exciting to see, because then he can walk in and they just look like, it's not off.
No, I think
sometimes you gotta name drop.
Yeah. No, I was telling the master that says in any team it's very important for the team to know what you really each individual role is.
Yeah.
And they need to understand who you are, because if they don't, then they don't know, right? They think, oh, I'm the CEO of Dentman and Master. I'm like, no, Master is like part CEO. He's a co-founder. He's this, he's that. So anything he telling you guys is essentially what I'm telling him, and he's telling you guys. So sometimes you gotta clear the role up for people and letting them know, hey, this is his role is as important as mine. And same thing, I'm sure, with Dr. Hughes and you. People know that your role and who you are as an individual is as important, not even maybe more important than Dr. Hughes, because you are essentially talking with the front soldiers in the front. You're talking to them. You're getting involved. So I'm sure they have probably have different respect for you than they do for him, because you are more involved with them on a daily basis. So
we're all an extension of him.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
The reason why we're so successful is because we all buy in to what he's doing, right? I mean, I started this with him. I've been working for him for 12 years. I literally started in a back room doing aging. I had no idea what I was doing. I learned it along the way. But he was like, there's got to be more. There's got to be a way that I can influence more people, and to act like, how can I do that? You know what? How do I make them? How do I get them to stay, pay, and refer? How do I do that? By over delivering and creating value, as much value as I can. Our job is to give our team members and our patients more value than the patients pay us, and then that we pay our team members. That's what it is. Our job. How can I create more value for you?
That's so important.
Yeah.
Well, with that quote, we're gonna say We're gonna value, and that's it. That's the important part.
Yes.
Well, Mikel, we know you're gonna have to go drink and get drunk, and then go have it.
Okay, I don't know why I said that. I'm not doing that. It's Good Friday.
Well, hey, everybody have a good Friday. I don't know. It's
On
different.
Saturday.
Mikel is like, I'm gonna go drink a couple of bottles of vodkas and just.
Vodka, that's tough. I don't know if I haven't had vodka in a minute. We
Go
don't
on.
recover the same way.
And you don't have to tell me twice. I'm about to be 40 next year. I don't recover at all.
Yeah, you don't recover the same way. Sometimes it's nice just to have a glass of wine and be done.
Okay. All right. Well,
So I was like, I'm gonna get a bottle. I'm gonna take shots.
now you're taking me back to my 20s. I remember that song that just came out. Shot.
Yeah, like the remember the days where we were waiting for the weekend and
Oh
then
my
you wake up the
God.
next day and do it again.
Oh my God.
There's no way.
There's no way.
I'm like, rolling down the stairs.
9 o'clock, I'm sitting on the edge of my bed now.
What time is it? Great. If I go to bed now, I'll have 9 hours. I love that. Wait,
I know.
half an hour. You gotta time out the sleep.
No,
I had a very good childhood because for me it's all work. Like I don't even. I feel like a 60-year-old living like when it's 9 p.m. exactly as Mila said. I'm sitting on the side of the bed and I'm like, okay, it's time to sleep.
Yeah, dude. No
Get
way.
back to work.
You have to enjoy the ride along the way.
I do enjoy the
Yeah,
ride, but
you gotta enjoy
that's
the
how the
ride.
ride is. Like there are no drinking.
The ride is at
no.
the edge of the bed waiting to go to sleep.
Exactly.
That sounds
I
so
enjoy it, though.
wrong.
Just waiting to go to bed.
I see a ride is waiting for you at that.
Oh boy. We're gonna edit that out.
God.
That's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, Mikel, thank you so much as always.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I truly appreciate your support.
Absolutely.
I
We're
can.
gonna run out of things to talk about.
Yeah, I know. We do have a lot to talk about, and like I said, once again, man, you are holding the record right now. 84 views on that, man. I wake up, I look at that every day. I'm like, is this the right number? Hey, I know. I'm like, you gotta top that one. So I don't know what we're gonna do, but you're gonna have to. Once I
It's all
release
what
this,
people value.
Yes.
I love that I can provide value or at least something for someone to take something, even if it's just a little bit, take
Yep.
something from it
Yeah.
and understand like we're very transparent. We just want to help as many people as we can and whatever it is. Because sometimes dentistry can feel very lonely. People don't understand it because not everybody wants to tell you the good with the bad. They just want to tell you the good and make it seem like everything's going well when I know damn well you've got some issues.
Yeah, for sure. No, I was telling you honestly, like I have doctors reaching out. I had a doctor that reached out to me from all the way from Dubai, and she was like, "Hey, thank you so much with the podcast that you did with Mikel, and I just want to let you know that like the part that she said about verify,
Yeah.
so like that is like such an important part. So like
Yeah.
you're becoming international, bro.
Yay, I'm so happy.
I
I'm so
know.
happy that
So
if
like
we can just help one person, that's huge.
Exactly like this is
Yeah.
why I tell masters, I'm like everything to the point. Even if you can help one person, if you can, if people can take what I experienced as a young doctor that's been out for 2 years, and you can avoid those things. Because I tell you, man, there are days that I'm just like, I feel like I've been doing dentistry for 50 years. Again, because if you don't put yourself in the right environment and you get into companies for the wrong reasons,
Yeah.
you'll end up being in a place that I'm in now because I got into all the companies for the wrong reasons. But if you get into the environment for the right reasons, you do your research, I think you're gonna find a happiness somewhere that you're gonna just be happy as a doctor, no matter what. As a dentist, you're gonna be happy. So
yeah.
And I think that's why Dr. Hughes is always happy because he's around you all the time. Because if I was around you all the time, too, I'll be happy too. Well, Mickey, I know. Well, Mikel, thank you so much for hopping on. I look forward to our May conversation.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I look forward to our June webinar with you. I'm super excited for that
Love
one.
it. I'm excited.
Yes, and also for your webinar, I have a special MC coming your way. We're gonna have Sarah Ruberg to be your partner in crime. So
I love her. I love her. She like that is the epitome of like someone with so much positivity. She's got the sparkle.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
I called her the other day. I'm like, hey, she texted me. She's like, is Mikel coming? I'm like, yeah. She's like, can I be with her? I'm like, sure.
Oh, it's gonna be amazing.
I know. So
That will get a lot of views.
yes, yes. We actually are doing it on Zoom, and then we're gonna record it. We're gonna post
Love
it on
it.
our YouTube channel, so people can enjoy it, enjoy the
Love
conversation,
it.
and then we'll,
So
we'll keep doing this stuff. I don't know what me and Masood are doing, but we won't forget about you, Mikel, if we become multi-billionaires.
I know, like, oh my, hopefully it's sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Maybe finally we can get you and Dr. Hughes that yellow Lamborghini that you gonna say.
Yeah, like, well,
That video, that video was
fun
funny.
bit. That was a fun bit. I was like, Lambo, do we have that? He's like, no. It's like, oh, I didn't think so. I'm like,
That was
wait,
funny.
you have a Jeep.
All right, Mikel. Well, thank you so much. I really
Absolutely, my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thanks,
Enjoy
guys.
your
Thank you,
weekend.
Mikel.
Thank you.
Have a
Have a
great
good
weekend.
Yes.
Friday.
Bye bye.
Thank you, you too.